On Monday Night Football, the Vikings had a very far from perfect win. But when you can come out here in your season opener against a division rival on the road and find a way to win, especially facing a big deficit, you'll take that every time. Because especially in these division games where every result matters, you'll take an ugly win over a pretty loss every day of the week. And for the Minnesota Vikings, that's exactly what they had, an ugly win. And especially in the first half of this game, it did not look pretty for them whatsoever. But come the end of it, they showed grit, they showed determination, and they found a way to come out the other side the victors. With that in mind, there are some positive things that the Vikings can take away from this game and utilize moving forward. First of all, I want to talk about the man behind the operation in Kevin O'Connell. This is a head coach that I very much trust. He has developed a reputation over the years of being somewhat of a quarterback whisperer. Whether it was Kirk Cousins or Sam Darnold, no matter what quarterback he had, it seemed like they always had a great year under Kevin O'Connell. And with that, when you've got a developing young quarterback like JJ McCarthy, I think that's huge. To have someone that is offensive oriented and has a great mind for that quarterback spot, that's great for a developing young guy trying to adjust to the NFL level. And I think that's going to do wonders for him long term. And that's the big reason why I trust in the success of the Vikings and McCarthy in the future. And that's because of Kevin O'Connell. I think he's a smart coach. I think he's a player's coach. And I think he's very much a quarterback whisperer. And you combine all those factors, that is a recipe for success and a recipe for good player development. But if he's going to be a great quarterback whisperer, who is he whispering to? That is, of course, JJ McCarthy, the Michigan product. He was a rookie last year, but he was injured. But the Vikings, they put their trust in McCarthy. Sam Darnold, who was expected to come in and be a bridge quarterback, get replaced mid-season, he had a great year last year in Minnesota. And yet, Minnesota, they believed so much in JJ McCarthy that they were okay with Sam Darnold leaving, and they put their trust in McCarthy. They put all their eggs in the basket of him. And we'll see if that bet pays off. But I think the Minnesota Vikings absolutely believe in him. And for JJ McCarthy in this game, at first it wasn't looking too smooth. There was a point where he was 1 for 2 for 5 yards and 2 sacks already. And in the early stages of this game, he didn't quite look like himself. This is somebody who I thought was a seamless fit over in Minnesota because you look back over at Michigan, he was part of a great system. And that was in some ways his biggest pro and his biggest con. Because a lot of people looked at him as a prospect and said, hey, I think McCarthy has some talent, but we never really saw what he could do in Michigan when things went awry. He had a great system ahead of him. So therefore, what's his ceiling as an NFL quarterback? When the play breaks down, when he has to improvise, when he has a less than perfect situation. But over in Minnesota, he's got a pretty good situation. You've of course have the aforementioned Kevin O'Connell. You've got Justin Jefferson. You have Jordan Addison when he's not suspended. You have Jalen Naylor. You have TJ Hawkinson. That's a pretty great setup. At the running back spot, too, you've got pretty solid options in Jordan Mason, who was really fun to watch in San Francisco last year, and Aaron Jones, a good veteran who still has a little bit of gas left in the tank. He wasn't too efficient last night, but I still believe Aaron Jones has something to bring to the table. That's a pretty good situation for McCarthy. And so with that, I thought that he was going to come in out the gates and look pretty comfortable. But early on, that didn't necessarily look like the case. However, as the game progressed, especially come that fourth quarter, I really liked what I saw from JJ McCarthy. It was ugly pretty early on, but if you're a quarterback, you have to allow that to not get in your head. You're going to have bad moments. You're going to have interceptions. You're going to have incompletions. It's what you do in the next play that matters. It's your reaction that matters. And I love what I saw from McCarthy in that regard. Because that could have easily got to him. He's got Jay Jettas. He's got a great head coach behind him. He's got a great tight end. And yet it just wasn't panning out. But he didn't let that get to his head. Instead, going to that fourth quarter, the Vikings were down big. They had scored just 2 field goals all game. And they were facing quite the deficit against the Chicago Bears. But when they needed him most, JJ McCarthy stepped up. And for every critique that it was very, very easy to have about him for those first 3 quarters, he looked incredible in the fourth. And that was when the Vikings really, really needed him. He finished today with 143 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, and also a rushing touchdown. So this was the guy that contributed to every single offensive touchdown for the Vikings. And I think that's huge. You have to be confident as a quarterback because every quarterback in this league is talented, whether they've got the arm, whether they have the IQ, the field vision, whatever it is, maybe some mobility. There's something about them to where teams are willing to take a chance on them, and especially a starting quarterback, to where teams are entrusting this guy to lead their offense. So it's one thing to be talented, it's another when you have the confidence about you. Because that can elevate your game to the next level. It allows you to take a sack, take an interception, and not allow it to weigh you down. Not allow it to set the tone for the game, but instead to build upon that, understand your mistakes, and build upon that, and become better in the future. And that's all I saw from McCarthy in this game. You want to look at the opposite, look at the recent case of Deshaun Watson. I feel like his confidence has really, really been shot. And you can see that in his performances. Obviously, now he's got the injury, but even when he was playing, for the most part, he did not look like the Deshaun Watson of old. And part of that's taking a year off. Part of that is the entire NFL world questioning the Browns' decision. Part of that is the NFL world questioning his character. All that combines to make a crisis of confidence happen. And you can see that in his performance. He's just not the same Deshaun Watson. You've got to be confident to be an effective quarterback. And so I really liked what I saw from JJ McCarthy in that regard. He did not back down when he faced a bad start. He grew from it, and come that fourth quarter when they needed him, he showed up. And this is what we saw in Michigan, too. Say what you want about McCarthy as a prospect, but he was a winner. And guess what? He found a way to win last night in prime time. First game of his career on Monday Night Football in a division game in your season opener. He found a way to win. And it wasn't always pretty, but when they needed him most, he showed up, and I love that. And I think that's going to bode well for the entire team moving forward, okay? Because when you have a confident quarterback, that sets the tone for your entire team. When you have a quarterback that trusts you and believes in his own ability to make plays, that's a quarterback that's going to find the open man. That's a quarterback that's going to utilize the open man. And that encourages guys to consistently look to be open because they believe that the quarterback can get them the ball. And you didn't see that early on. Justin Jefferson, I know, I had him in fantasy. I needed 3 points from Jefferson to win. And for a large portion of this game, it was like that was not going to happen. And that's crazy to say for a wide receiver of his caliber. But in that fourth quarter, JJ McCarthy, he started a fine number 18, and I think that's huge. So as he grows in his confidence, I think Chase Edmonds, he's only going to get better. We're going to see the Justin Jefferson that we saw in years past. The elite wide receiver that he is. I think T.J. Hawkinson, he can be a great tight end when he's healthy. I think we're going to start to see you go to him more. I think there's a positive atmosphere around this team centered around the belief that J.J. McCarthy has, the faith that he has, the unwavering determination to win that he has that we saw on display, and I think that's going to propel the Vikings moving forward. It was not a pretty win. Far, far from it. But come the end of it, they showed grit, they showed determination, they won against the Chicago Bears. They're division rivals with a quarterback who was imperfect playing his first ever NFL game, but he showed up in the end. He found his elite wide receiver in the end, and they came out the other side of the victors with an incredible fourth quarter comeback. There's a lot to improve on, but I think there are absolutely positive signs for the Vikings in this game. And if they can carry the confidence that they have with them moving forward, I think they could get into a rhythm much earlier in the coming games. To be able to use this confidence that you have right now, coming off this comeback win, and use that and execute with it early on next time so you don't have to make a comeback. I think things might only go smoother from here if the Vikings played their cards right. Confidence is key for them moving forward. That's my biggest takeaway from Monday Night Football. It was quite the interesting game for them. One that, for those first 3 quarters, did not look pretty whatsoever. But come the end of it, what a great comeback. What a story for the Vikings. JJ McCarthy, injured his rookie year, comes in, doesn't look great, but he's got a drive about him in the end that carried the Vikings to a victory. There are going to be bumps in the road. There are going to be moments where we question if JJ McCarthy is that guy. There are moments in this game where we question that early on. But I think long term, the Minnesota Vikings may just have their man in JJ McCarthy. I think Kevin O'Connell believes in him. I think Kevin O'Connell can maximize his talents. And I think it can only get better from here.